You know, this is pretty poetic, and I am 50% here for it. Today we're talking about Vancouver Canucks defenseman FILIP HRONEK, a guy that I think a lot of fans from all over the NHL have seen as one of the, let's just say, most valuable trade pieces the Vancouver Canucks have right now. Yeah, he's essentially the team's best defenseman, arguably their best player. He's 28 years old, in the prime of his career. He's a right-handed D-man making $7.25 million till the end of 2032, a very reasonable contract. And last season, he had scored a career high in points despite playing for the terrible Vancouver Canucks. FILIP HRONEK is captain material, according to some of the folks on the insider beat here in Vancouver. And his reputation, his personality, his leadership in the locker room, it all spells very good things for the value HRONEK provides this rebuilding club. But because the club is rebuilding, and because HRONEK's pretty darn good, you can make the argument that trading him away and getting any sort of value can be seen as a priority. With that said, we've been talking about various trade ideas for Vancouver's top scoring defenseman and current 2-point and 5-game guy for Team Czechia at the World Championships, and discussing hypothetical trade ideas. We've gone over the 4th overall pick from the Chicago Blackhawks. Could HRONEK get sent over for the 2nd overall pick in San Jose? There are a number of ways that you could attack the HRONEK situation, but I wanted to refer to a tweet made by Knock Dunkachino, who went out there and made this post on Twitter that garnered 100,000 views and a whole bunch of replies. A sneaky potential trade target for the New York Islanders is FILIP HRONEK, locked up at a very reasonable $7.25 for the next 6 years, taking him through his prime. It gets Schaefer a right-hand partner long-term, and if the Islanders don't trade Adam Pelech, they could potentially just stack their defense next season to help Sorokin and take some pressure off of Schaefer, who shouldn't be playing 28 minutes every night. With Vancouver rebuilding, I can see them also eating one of the Isles' bad contracts, whether it's Mayfield, Duclair, or Engvall. Considering FILIP HRONEK got traded for the 17th overall pick and a 2nd in 2023, I would imagine a return centered around a 13th overall pick this year could get it done. The Islanders currently have pick number 13. This trade proposal says the Isles would receive HRONEK, and the Canucks would receive the 13th overall pick, one of Engvall, Duclair, or Mayfield, Jesse Pulkkinen, or a 2027 second. If the Isles don't trade Pelech, you could have Schaefer with HRONEK, Pelech, Pulock, and Romanov D'Angelo. If they do trade Pelech for a forward, you can have essentially the same names over here, but toss in Isaiah George. Now, I'm just going to say this right here. The idea of FILIP HRONEK going from Quinn Hughes as his primary D partner to Matthew Schaefer, like, this guy's going to be playing with some of the best players ever, and he's going to be a top pairing guy, and he's going to be able to leech off of their points. Not to say that Phil is not capable of scoring himself, as he had displayed this season, especially after Quinn Hughes left. HRONEK was on an absolute heater. I mean, he was scoring assists like crazy. He was getting involved on a successful power play ever since the departure of Quinn Hughes. It's kind of funny how everything worked out that way. But HRONEK is a genuinely good defenseman, and I would also say that right now, his value is higher than it was when the Detroit Red Wings initially sent him over to Vancouver. Now, there's tangible results that he has had success in a long-term season with a number of factors going against him. Detroit was never really all too great when HRONEK was there as well, so I could understand maybe he's not that guy, but he is a top 2 pairing defenseman in Vancouver. And this is one of the most important trade chips that the Canucks have if you want to view him as a trade chip. There is a conversation as well to have in regards to that 13th overall pick. If you assume HRONEK gets traded for a first, would you rather have HRONEK for 4th overall straight up, or 2nd overall straight up, or 13th overall and a whole bunch of other stuff, including potentially a bad contract? I would say that you would need to add extreme value if you are considering 13th overall in just a second and another one of these anchor contracts that the Islanders seem to have. But that's opting on the assumption that maybe a 4th overall pick trade for FILIP HRONEK is something reasonable we're thinking about. Who really knows? Maybe my perception of trade value and everything with FILIP HRONEK is just skewed. Let's dive into some of the quote tweets, because there are a number of Canucks fans going out there and responding to this idea. Joey Hansen says, "Hey, I'm a Canucks fan. I'm in." Lord Humongous of Vancouver said, "If I'm moving HRONEK, I want a top 10 pick and a chance at VIGGO BJORCK. Otherwise, wait until the trade deadline next spring." That obviously is a conversation that I think we should be capable of having as well. The Vancouver Canucks, there's this entire conversation going around that they need a center. And with the 3rd overall pick, it is very well projected that they're going to take Caleb Malhotra. Meanwhile, VIGGO BJORCK is a guy who has been demonstrating some tremendous value as a center at this year's World Championships. Despite the fact that he's 5'10", 172, he is a force of nature. Way over a point per game at the World Juniors, just under a point per game at the World Championships, and a guy that hasn't been really replicated profile-wise in 20-something years out of Sweden. Stenberg and Bjork are doing some incredible work, and if there is a chance that Daniel Sedin's scouting has any sort of pull and it can influence whether or not the Vancouver Canucks get a Stenberg and or a Bjork, it's going to be very difficult to try and dissuade what the Canucks could do here. Take a look at this tweet made by Sapster. Daniel Sedin has the impossible task of convincing an entire scouting department, plus Henrik and Johnson, to take Ivar Stenberg over Caleb Malhotra. The awareness on display from Stenberg in tracking the puck in this goal that he scored is way more impressive than the actual goal. This goal, by the way, scored yesterday, or 2 days ago. Puck is bouncing up in the air, and Stenberg just kind of, one hand near the blade of his stick, taps it in. That's beautiful. The chemistry he has displayed with VIGGO BJORCK is amazing, and the idea of Vancouver potentially trading away FILIP HRONEK, I would say if there is an increased likelihood that they could walk out of the draft with both Bjork and an Ivar Stenberg, that's worth the price of admission for trading away HRONEK. Whether or not that gets done with a top 10 pick somewhere here, or that gets done with a Chicago pick, San Jose, who really knows. Maybe Vancouver does the entire situation we had discussed with Calgary. They trade from 3 to 6, and they get a whole bunch of extra draft picks in return. Calgary's 28th overall pick, plus the 2 seconds they have at the beginning of the second round. If Vancouver really sees a lot of value in a guy like VIGGO BJORCK, which I think they should, this could be a really underrated pickup near the middle-ish part of the first round, if he is still available. I mean, Bjork is ranked consolidatedly number 5 now, but you did have outlets ranking him a lot lower because he's only 5'10". Who knows where the cookie crumbles at this point, right? He's a center, so he might go a little higher. With that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I know this has been a smorgasbord of trade ideas and player combinations, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this idea of FILIP HRONEK alongside of Matthew Schaefer on the Islanders' top pair? Is that a realistic idea? And is it something worth thinking about if the Vancouver Canucks are offered a package including the 13th overall pick? Would you rather see the Canucks go a little higher to try to get a guy like VIGGO BJORCK to pair with Ivar Stenberg, assuming they draft him 3rd overall? How do you feel about this talk with the Isles? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.